We are continuing our series previewing the Carolina Panthers 90-man roster. Today we're here to talk about running backs. Let's go.
Brace yourself for the ultimate Carolina Panthers experience. Welcome to Two Growls, One Roar, the podcast that hits harder than a Luke Kuechly tackle. We're diving deep into the heart of Panther Nation, bringing you unrivaled passion, insider takes, and pure gridiron fire. From Wilmington to the cosmos, this is your home for the fiercest football talk east or west of Charlotte.
Welcome in, folks, to another edition of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. As we continue this series, it is a gauntlet, so I appreciate you guys for tuning in. I should say, whenever I say guys and gals, because I appreciate everyone that watches this, tunes in, listens. Without further ado, man, we've got a lot to talk about. The running back position, and I should say before we get too far, the quarterback video is out and available. You can go out and watch that. I'm trying to do these in order of like what I think could be easiest. In general, I think the offense outside of when we talk about tight ends, wide receiver, I don't know, running backs is going to be quite the competition as well. I think things are pretty much chalk, set in stone. And to give you my way too early prediction, I have the Carolina Panthers hovering around 23 to 24 players on the offensive side of the ball, which would leave 26 to 27 on the defense. You guys can see it off camera. I have my chart that I'm using to track for the purposes of making this. But for today's video, let's go ahead and jump right in and get you guys caught up to speed. So if you're new to this, what we do is we go through all the players on the roster, again, the active 90 roster as I record this. If there are additions or subtractions that happen between now and camp, I'll get those covered in a follow-up video. But for now, we can talk about the state of the Carolina Panthers in the running back position. There's a lot of discussion or conversation about the wide receiver room being crowded. It is, but the battle for what I'm saying is the third running back on this roster is going to be a big one. It is. And I don't know, as I sit here, I will tell you, I have the Carolina Panthers keeping 3 running backs as it is today. 2 quarterbacks, 3 running backs. We're not going to get into receivers, offensive line, tight end, and all that just yet. But I have them keeping 3, which means there's a chance Raheem Blackshear might not be here this year. So it's up for discussion. We're going to talk all about it, though. But as you can see here, Emani Bailey with 1 year of experience, previously practice squad guy, Raheem Blackshear, Rico Dowdle, Trevor Etienne, your newest edition draft pick, Chuba Hubbard, and then Karon Lynch-Adams out of Michigan State. So we're going to go through all these guys today. We're going to go to a similar flow that we did when we were talking through, well, I may change it up. Actually, we're going to keep it the same. We're going to go through the list here to talk through the backs based off of guys that have been here the shortest amount of time up until the most. I'm actually going to change that. I'm going to base this off of experience. That's a little bit easier to talk through. So we'll do that. Without further ado, let's actually start here with Karon Lynch-Adams. So again, undrafted free agent rookie, 5'10", 215 pounds out of Michigan State. And to be completely transparent with you guys, when we get into these, I keep it pretty light when it comes to talking through guys and potential to make the roster as it is right now. Number one, I do this every year, and I say the same thing. I hope these guys prove us wrong. Like, that's the point of this, is to prove us wrong. We all know that they're competing. We all know these guys are fantastic athletes and players, and that's why they have the opportunity that they have to make the roster. So Karon Lynch-Adams, where exactly is he going to fit in? Number one, like I was going to say, is I can't wait to see these guys in the preseason. It's always fun. You never know what's going to happen, and they may find an opportunity. They may find a home. With the running back position in particular, we would like to see these guys in the kickoff return game. Like, that seems to be, if you're talking about third and possibly fourth, if the Panthers decide to keep 4 running backs, that's where you're going to find it. So undrafted free agent, like we said, out of Michigan State, trying to compete again to really for a practice squad spot is where he sits right now. So again, as we talk about the pecking order For the players, I don't think there's any surprise here that I have Chuba Hubbard and Rico Dowdle as your two locks, with the number 3 spot still up in the air as we try to sort through exactly who is going to make it. And folks, I apologize because I just shared this, but I didn't share the tab, but it's okay. I will pull up Karon Lynch-Adams just so you can see him on here, number 34. Give him his dues as I now wrap up talking about him on this portion of this. So we'll now move on to another rookie. This rookie, though, was drafted, so it makes it a little bit different. Trevor Etienne, rocking the number 23, the Michael Jordan rookie, 5'8", 198 pounds, out of Georgia. Selected in the 4th round. I don't know, as you talk through him, if people were, and we can actually see if we can pull up his little blurb here. I don't know if the Panthers got anything up. Nope, they didn't. Slowly working to get their site updated, but it was a little bit of surprise for me. The Carolina Panthers went running back, but then that's really been Dave Canales' mantra ever since he's been in the NFL. At least, now I know he hasn't, been a head coach and associated with drafting, but following the Pete Carroll philosophy of thinking, running back, running back, running back. We saw how early Jonathan Brooks went last year. Hopefully, we see Jonathan Brooks next year. He's, of course, not in this mix because he's not going to be here this year. So you think about Trevor Etienne. He is the younger brother of NFL running back Travis Etienne. 4th round selection out of Georgia, known for his burst and ability to score. And for us, when we talk about this 3rd spot on the roster with the running back room, I think it's between him and Blackshear. It's going to be a matter of who's the better returner. Although, again, there's a possibility they keep both. Raheem Blackshear does have the upside with the return game and the experience, and he's been there and he's done that. But we'll monitor this one. Now, I will say Etienne may have a little bit of an upside to make the roster if he can get on the field as the 3rd back. I say that because you think about Raheem Blackshear. There were a lot of opportunities, I've talked about this, for Raheem Blackshear to get on the field last year when, there was Miles Sanders who was out, Chuba Hubbard that was out. We saw them pull up Mike Boone. We saw them go with guys that were not Raheem Blackshear. We saw when Chuba Hubbard dislocated his knee, and I think it was just between him and because Jonathan Brooks couldn't play, and it was between him and Raheem Blackshear. Raheem Blackshear really didn't touch the field. So I think that tells you what the Panthers think about Blackshear as a running back. And I think maybe they say Trevor Etienne is a better all-around back. Plus, there's the potential to put him in as a return specialist. So I think that's where he's going to sit, in my opinion. I can't say he's a lock, although a 4th round selection, I think it's got to be close to as a lock as you can get. I mean, yes, he could get cut, but for me, it feels like the Panthers made a decision. And you know what? You brought back Blackshear for around $1 million or so. It's pretty cheap. So if they do decide to part ways, again, now we get into the numbers game. There's still potential as we flex this out that the Panthers decide to keep 4 running backs. And in that case, you have Etienne and Raheem Blackshear still here on the roster. So that is Trevor Etienne. Now, as I keep track of where we are, let's look at Emani Bailey. So primarily a practice squad player, number 39, 1 year of experience, 5'7", 202. Previously at TCU. And let's see what little blurb we have here. So yeah, dynamic running back, known for his quickness and an ability to make defenders miss. Again, for him, practice squad. That's where he spent his time with the Carolina Panthers in 2024. I would anticipate that that's where he spends his time. Again, you never know. But I'm just telling you for the straight of where we sit today, probably a practice squad player. And that's not a bad thing. It's not. Like, we've seen the Panthers needing, unfortunately, to call up guys throughout the season. So always a chance that he could get there and potentially get caught up at some point. So that is Emani Bailey. And just making sure as I go through this, so we talked Emani Bailey, we talked Trevor Etienne, we talked Karon Lynch-Adams. So we are halfway through the 3 We can now pivot to the guys, or at least one guy that you are likely pretty familiar with, and that is none other than Raheem Blackshear. So number 3, again, 4 years entering in his 4th season, 5'9", 190 pounds, 27 years old, out of Virginia Tech. On the season last year, 15 carries, 80 yards. Not bad at all. 5.33 yards per carry. He had a promising start. You think about him and where he has bounced around and then landing here in Carolina. So he signed as an undrafted free agent with Buffalo, was waived, signed to the practice squad in Buffalo, and then back signed here with Carolina. And now, I don't know if I think we should have his career return yards and stats on here because that's really what we're going to focus on. We know he wasn't, like, you can look at his career stats here, 203 career rushing yards, and he just hasn't really, that's not been his fit, but he has figured it out in the return game, and that's why I think it could be small, but there's a chance that the Panthers do keep 4. So especially, again, the dynamic kickoff rules. That's where I'll continue to go. But he had 31 returns last year, 791 yards, 25.5 yard average, which, again, I think was around top 10 in the NFL. At least his total yards was. 43 was his long. He had 27 returns over 20 yards, 1 over 40 yards. He did have 1 fumble along the way. And then in the year before, in 2023, 16 returns for 430 yards, 26.9 average, and his rookie year, 27 yards per return. So he is a very good kick returner. We also saw him as a punt returner last season as well. So I think that's another, feather in his cap when we talk about the potential for Raheem Blackshear to be here. Sure, he may not check the box as your 3rd option at the running back position to get on the field. However, punt return, kick return, 2 big needs from a special teams unit. However, we do know Jimmy Horn Jr., there's potential for someone else to take on that role. But at least as it sits now, I mean, he didn't do bad as a punt returner. He had 17 returns for 145 yards, about 8.5 yards. Honestly, Amir Smith-Marset is better. Wouldn't mind hanging him around, but I know the numbers and everything that just didn't make sense to keep him here. 3 fair catches. He did fumble once. So he also did a little bit of punt returning in his rookie campaign, had 6 returns for 55 yards, 9.2 yards. So it's one of those where I'm not guaranteeing that he's going to get cut, but I'm also not guaranteeing that he will make the roster. Like, I'm in this gray area. I'm glad it's not me that has to make the decision, but I think when you talk about how he makes it, it's kick return and punt return, like those 2 things where, and he does the advantage of being in the league and already doing it. If you can do your job and you perform it well or well enough, and you're one of the top, there's a good chance that an NFL team is going to want to try to keep you around. So if we keep the 4, like I said, Raheem Blackshear in the mix. If not, I think Etienne gets the nod potentially. Still a ways to go. Now, we'll move on to the next on the list, which actually he has the most experience out of any player on the team as far in the NFL experience. Rico Dowdle played at the University of South Carolina. Actually played some high school ball here in the state of North Carolina. 6 years of experience, 5'11", 215 pounds. Coming off a very highly productive campaign with the Dallas Cowboys. We got to see it firsthand here in Carolina. 235 carries, 4.59 yards per carry, 1,079 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Low production when it comes to the rushing stats, but this was a career year for him. As we get his career log pulled up here, I mean, you can see with the Cowboys, nothing really in 2020, 2021, nothing, actually nothing. 22, only 5 game appearances. 23, kind of getting there. like starting to see a little bit of production. And then like this was a breakout year for him. He took advantage of the opportunity and put up 1,000 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns. Also, from the receiving standpoint, 249 receiving yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. And he actually did not return kicks last year. He did, I was checking to see, he did not return any punts either. So, a nice back that's here for 1 year. Like, this is really it. It's a 1-year contract. Hopefully, for him, he's thinking, okay, I'm going to get paid. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to show folks what I can do. I like the upgrade, and it's funny that Miles Sanders now goes to Dallas and Rico Dowdle comes here, so we'll get to see. That'll be kind of a storyline that's brewing in the back of my mind as we go through this process and just kind of figure out, like, okay, is Rico, did this investment pay off? Which I think it should, considering where the offensive line sits, which again, it'll be in another episode. But you now have 2,000 yard backs here in Carolina. It's fantastic, man. It is a great position for the Carolina Panthers to be in right now. And I'm excited for this. And again, I've kind of called it, said it's being slept on, but I don't know that it is. I think it's just we haven't seen it in action. I cannot wait for this 1-2 punch. I'm just curious what the split in production is going to look like. Is it 70-30? Is it 65-35? Is it 60-40? Is it 55-45? I think Rico Dowdle does best when he gets his touches, same as Chuba Hubbard, but just figuring out the dynamic of how you're going to split those up. And who knows, could be a scenario where it just works and you have Rico Dowdle here next year. But again, you invested in Etienne, you have Brooks in the waiting, hopefully that he gets cleared through. So we'll see how that plays out. So excited for Rico Dowdle. Yes, he's a lock. And that leaves us with the most familiar name on this entire list, which of course is none other than the Chuba Hubbard. Entering in his 5th year, 6'1". He's big, man. Like, I think that's one of the things that people don't realize is how big he is. 6'1", 210. Now, he's not Derrick Henry size. Out of Oklahoma State, from Canada. Of course, there's an opportunity for him, once we start talking about the Olympics and all that and 7-on-7, whatever, flag football, he could potentially play for Canada, which is pretty cool, but that's another subject. Talk about a breakout year. 250 carries, 1,195 yards. Could have easily eclipsed 1,300 yards if he plays the final 2 games. He didn't need to. 4.78 average, 10 touchdowns on the season. It was a career best season for him, like hands down. We can get into the stats here to show you his breakdown of his career, and then we'll get into some of the game logs here in just a second. But you look at production-wise, again, first 1,000-yard season for Chuba Hubbard. 4.8 yards was close to his best. He did have 4.9 in 2022, but, I mean, considering the amount of the carries he had, most carries in his career. Again, he played in 2 less games as well, 10 touchdowns on the ground. It was good. Got involved in the passing game. Not a big pass catcher. I think that's another reason you have Dowdle and Etienne. But 43 receptions, 171 yards, 1 touchdown through the air. And again, not involved in the return game. Turnovers, Chuba Hubbard did redeem himself a few times. It was the most turnovers that he's had as far as fumbles in a season. Like, we have to acknowledge everything. That's the purpose of me doing this stuff. 4 fumbles, 3 of them were lost. We know about the tough one against Tampa in overtime. But you know what? Like, in general, number one, he's a guy that's been here. We know about his work ethic and how much time he puts into his game, into his craft, the time that he spends after practice, working on everything, working at the jugs machines. He is one of the guys that's been here that wants to change the culture, that wants to get back into what we consider the old Carolina Panthers, like get back to who we were. And he is one of the foundational pieces to change the culture. And I'm excited for him. I'm excited and glad that he got paid. I'm glad he got his money. He deserves it. He really does. You go back and look at the game splits. I mean, again, the worst game he had was against I believe it was against Tampa, but the Saints. Week 1 was just abysmal for everyone. Only 14 yards on the ground. That's the thing. You think if he has a decent game against the Saints and he plays in the last 2, he's at least easily 1,300. He was in top 5 in rushing yards for most of the season. Like once he got going and started clicking on all cylinders, of course, not many people paid attention because, well, we're the Panthers and we were losing a lot of games. And the defense was as bad as it was, but he was one of the big bright spots. But 114 against the Raiders, 104 against the Bengals, 97 against the Bears, 92 against the Falcons. Monster game against the Giants, best of his career, 153. And then just short of topping that against the Cardinals with 152, had the 2 touchdowns on the ground. Highly productive day. Not so great against Cowboys. 32 on the ground, and the Bucks with 43. I expect Dave Canales to fully buy into his mantra of running the football this year. Chuba Hubbard is a top 10 back in the NFL. Like, put it down. Top 10 back in the NFL. I think this year he's going to get more recognition. I think if the Panthers start to win some football games, like, folks are going to kind of come around. I'm not here to talk about fantasy-wise or sports betting or anything like that. But I do think Chuba Hubbard is due, and I'm excited to see what this team can be heading into 2025 with him at the helm. Anyways, folks, that's going to do it. So I guess, like, if we are breaking this down, I do have Rico Dowdle, Chuba Hubbard, and then I've already said it, but Trevor Etienne or Raheem Blackshear is your 2 fringe players for that final third, or if it's for spot. As always, folks, this is Carolina Dad. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Y'all have a good one.